So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little occult chat. This is your host, the Occult View. I want to talk about BDSM. And the reason I want to talk about BDSM is because I really think that people who claim to be, I guess you could say, BDSM experts or trained in the field of being a dominant. I mean, there's dominants and there's submissives. It doesn't matter which one I would fall under. It doesn't matter because we're not talking about me and I'm not into BDSM. And one of the reasons I do not like BDSM, and I'm going to talk about that, and why I think that it is sinister in nature for me. Now, let's look up the definition of BDSM first. Let's look up that definition. What is the definition of um bondage, bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism? Okay, so bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism. That is what BDSM stands for. So you have a person who is a sadist, not a satanist, but a sadist. What is a sadist? A sadist is a person who enjoys inflicting pain and humiliation on someone else, right? And, throughout the years, I've had men, mainly white men, some black, but I've had men contact me over the years in social media trying to get me to get up under their BDSM ritual because BDSM can also be a ritual. And a lot of times it is a ritual. It's a humiliation ritual. We see it happening, we see it happen and happening in Hollywood to men every day, like with John Cena when he was running around on the stage naked during, I believe that was the Oscars or the Emmys or the Grammys, whatever. It was some type of, major ceremony for Hollywood. That was a BDSM ritual. And in actuality, BDSM has been morphed into what people want it to be. I mean, I'm not a methodical person, so I get it, but it has become a very sinister part of our sexual culture, unfortunately, as adults. Here's what I'm talking about. I was talking to someone, right? Because I always do my undercover, what do I call them? My undercover research studies, where I go undercover covertly and I do social experiments. That's what the word I was looking for, social experiments. I was doing a social experiment and a white guy contacted me. And he said that he was looking for what did he say? A BDSM slave for an ongoing relationship, right? Because I will put certain things out into the universe to see what comes back so I can have something to talk about on YouTube. So he said, I'm looking for a BDSM slave. So I said, cool. Of course, I had no intentions of meeting with this person, but I said, cool. I said, what are you into? Because I wanted to see where his mind was at. Now, I'm assuming he was white. He never gave me any information. See, this is the sinister part of BDSM. Let me continue. So I said, cool. I said, tell me, what are you into? Are you into, race play? Are you into, what are you into? He responds back. Let me read to you what this person responded back and said to me. Let me give me a second. He sent no picture. He gave no information about himself. That's if it was a man indeed. Let me tell you what he said. Because I blocked and deleted him, of course, because I got what I needed from that experiment. Let me tell you. Give me a sec. Went into the wrong folder. Wait a minute. Here is what he said to me. Now, granted, this man has not sent me a picture. He has not confirmed he's a man. He has not told me um, his age, his race, his body description. He's done none of that. But here's what he's demanding from me. I need your full stats, complete and be detailed about it. Also, need pics, full frontal and backside, no headshots. That is what BDSM has become. And that is why I don't fuck with that shit. And I don't give a fuck who gets offended by that. This is why I don't like BDSM. Because of shit like this. I am very well aware of BDSM because I have dominated. Let me give you a little bit of personal information about me. I have dominated men. And I don't have to dominate them. See, my reach is far. I dominate men that own companies. I've dominated men that own, that are in, I guess you could say, high ranking officials. Let me just say that, like judges. I've dominated men with no sexual contact, with no physical contact. I've dominated men. But it never was against their will. What this person wrote me is against my will. He was making demands against my will, and I've never had a real conversation with this man. But he's making all of these demands. He wants me to send him nude pictures of my front and my back. We have not FaceTime. We have not had a conversation. We have not laid the groundwork for what it is that both of us need from each other. When you're really practicing BDSM, it is not supposed to be about abuse. But that is what it has become. And the thing is that there's a difference between consensual humiliation and abuse of power. When you are someone who's supposed to be a dominant, you're not supposed to abuse your power in that position. You're supposed to develop a rapport with the person who is supposed to be your submissive. Now, I'm not really into BDSM like that unless I'm getting paid for it. If I'm getting paid for it, yeah, but it's not going to be physical. I can dominate men on the other side of the world if I wanted to because that's what I do. I'm the occult view. That's my spiritual reach. It falls under the category of what people would call concilium, as they called it in American Horror Story, or mind control. But the participants have to be willing. And when I say willing, if a person says, I'm not comfortable with X, Y, and Z, then you need to stop and you need to back off. But they have turned BDSM into strictly a sadistic form of sexual gratification for the person who's supposed to be a Dom. A Dom, I'm going to be honest with you, a Dom does not act like that. A person who basically, let me just say this, it's become a secondary form of violation and violating people. A Dom is not supposed to violate their sub. It's supposed to be a mutual exchange of enjoyment and gratification, but that's not what it's about anymore. And that's why I don't like it, because I had ran across men who say that they were submissive, mainly white men. They would tell me that they're submissive, but they're really passive aggressive, dominant men, meaning they are bipolar and schizophrenic in their nature and they don't know what they want. So, what they will do is they'll say that they're submissive, right? But then they'll start acting like they're the dominant one. Now, there are some people that are switches and they flip, and that's fine, but that should be established in the beginning. But see, that's another thing. People are very deceptive and they lie. They lie so much in this genre of weirdness that we live in now. That's why I don't fuck with. That's why I don't like BDSM. I don't like it. Now, if somebody wants to, if some guy wants to pay me, $10,000 to cuss him out, I'll do that. But that's a consensual thing. But when you start violating people against their will, that's where the problem comes in. And to me, that is very sinister, and that's a whole nother beast. That's not even a demon, that's a whole nother beast, like an entity that they've created. BDSM has it's been created into it has been turned into a very sinister negative entity where people want to control you and they don't want to give you any control. They don't even want to sit down and have a conversation with you about, just a mutual exchange so you can understand where each other where both parties are coming from. It's about a respect thing and respecting people's boundaries. They don't do that anymore. That's why I don't like BDSM. That's why I don't like it. Of course, unless I'm the dom. Unless I'm the dom. And I'm talking about in the gay and LGBT community. I'm not talking about, anything else. But it has turned into a secondary form of abuse and it's really given people a license to abuse people. This man and his words were very abusive. They were abrasive. He sounds like he's disagreeable. That's if it was a man, which it probably was. Number one, how are you going to ask me and make, no, he didn't ask, he demanded, how are you going to demand these types of things from me when you don't even show your face, sir? You don't even show your face. How would I feel comfortable sending you nudes? Because that's basically what he was asking for. Why would I send you nudes when you're hiding your face? See, where most people fail, especially some of you white men, and I don't care if you get offended or not, where you fail, I'm not going to give you too much information, but where you fail with BDSM is that you think it's all about the physicality or you think it's all about physical. Remember what I said earlier, it's about the mind. You have to seduce the mind of the sub if you want them to do what you want them to do. You can't just come charging in like a raging bull and making demands and being abusive and violating people. And that's where that's really where it has gone. That's where it has gone. You can't, you cannot, let me try to figure out what I'm trying to say. You cannot enforce BDSM on strangers that you don't even know. And furthermore, why would you be trying to enforce that on a stranger that you just started talking to? And then some of these motherfucking men, especially on some of these gay apps, they wonder why nobody is meeting with them. They wonder why they're still on gay apps asking for the same thing every single day. They looking for BBC or BWC, and BBC means big black cock. BWC means big white cock. It ain't too many big white cocks out there though. Unless they're in the porn movies. That's why a lot of white men are flaky about a lot of stuff and hide behind the virtual world. Like I told one, I said, you're virtual. And I know it's hard for them to operate sometimes in the real world. And if I'm lying, then whatever. But I'm not. But BDSM is really about the mind. It's about the subconscious mind and you seducing your sub or your submissive into doing what you want them to do. This is why I don't really like BDSM because this is what it is. This is what it has turned into. And I'm a dominant person naturally. When it comes to men, I'm a dominant person naturally. And when I say dominant, let me be clear. See, it's so misconstrued and it's so many misconceptions about it. Just because you're a dominant person, it doesn't all, and I'm specifically referring to gay men in the LGBT community. Just because you're a dominant person, it does not mean that that makes you a top. And it doesn't mean if you're a submissive person, it makes you a bottom. That's what it has become. I could be a dominant person and still be a bottom and could still love sucking, you know what? I'm not saying it because I don't want to get, censored. You could still be a bottom and be dominant. It's not about what type of sex you like to have, it's about your state of consciousness and your state of mind. I am a naturally dominant person, but I'm a balanced dominant person. I would never try to enforce something on someone that they don't want. And that's why I don't like BDSM. Messages like this, the ones I just read to you, let me read it again. Let me read this clown's message to you again. I need your full stats, complete and be detailed about it. Also need pics, full frontal and backside, no headshots, meaning no face shots. Now, who the fuck does he think he is? Telling a stranger online, somebody that he's never talked to, somebody that he's never met. We've not had a phone conversation. We've not talked. We've not had any type of real interaction besides the virtual world, which is the virtual world is what he himself is probably more comfortable operating in because they cannot function in the real world. In the real world, people like that malfunction. Take now get that, now take that T. You get that hint. They malfunction. They think that BDSM is about being nasty, being hateful, degrading people, abusing people, violating people. That's what it's become. And that's why I don't like it anymore. Because if that's the case, then it really depends on the individual that you want. You have to come to a mutual understanding with your partner. First of all, he's not my partner. You just want to enforce BDSM on complete strangers that you don't know? Any man that I've had that type of interaction with that allowed me to dominate him virtually or verbally or mentally or spiritually or whatever the case may be, it was with his permission. And I'm another man. I'm not talking about men doing that shit to women. I don't like that shit at all. I don't really like that. But that's not my territory. I'm talking about with gay men, bisexual men, whatever you want to call it, in the LGBT community. You cannot just go around enforcing that on people. That's not right. Nor is that the real foundation. Well, I'm not going to say foundation, nor is that the real mechanism of BDSM. There's a certain respect that should be in place. There should be boundaries in place to respect both parties' boundaries. There may be things I don't like even as a dom. Let's say if I'm a dom, right? There may be certain things that I don't want to do. There may be certain things that I just don't want to do. But what you'll find is, like, for example, when you go on a lot of these apps, all of these men claiming to be submissive bottoms, right? But you're really dominant men. You want to be submissive, but you don't know how to be. Because if you were really submissive, you would not be demanding that somebody come and fuck you in your ass. And I'm saying it straight like that. If you were really submissive, you would go about it a different way because submissive people do not demand. There's a difference between BDSM and asshole. And a lot of these men, they're just assholes. They're just assholes. And they try to hide behind BDSM. That's a very dangerous thing. And then what they'll do is they will get some unsuspecting person who really doesn't understand BDSM the way that I do. See, I understand it. And I know that there are boundaries and things that should be put in place before there's any type of interaction. You don't just start making demands of a person that you just met and then you're trying to hide behind but that's what BDSM is. That's what BDSM is. Making demands, unreasonable demands. They don't care about your comfortability. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care how you feel. They just want to humiliate you. They want to degrade you. They want to dominate you. And they want to make you feel like some shit. That is the more darker side and sinister side of BDSM. And that's why I don't fuck with that shit like that. That's why I don't fuck with it. That's why when men tell me I want to dominate you, no, the fuck you don't. No, the fuck you don't. Because even if they're not literally saying they're into BDSM, they will try to partake in it against your will. That's why BDSM is just not for me. It's just not for me unless I am the dominant one. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you have a partner and you two are comfortable with each other, two consenting adults can do whatever they want to do, in the bedroom because I'm going to assume that you've established that you can trust this person. There's a certain amount of trust that must be in place for you to give over your sexual freedom and your freedom in general to someone so they can, get their rocks off on you and you get your rocks off on them doing whatever they're doing to you. There has to be a trust established first. And a lot of these men, especially white men, they don't get that. Black men too, not just white men, but I'm talking about white men in this video because that's probably who contacted me. But black men are into BDSM as well, and they too are abusive with it. There's a difference between BDSM and abuse, but they've intertwined it so people can't tell the difference. So that's why I don't BDSM, I don't fuck with that shit like that. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Because like with everything, they taint everything. You can't have anything without it being tainted by humans. I was just thinking, I wish I could sometimes I wish I could just move into the middle of the forest in a little wooden cottage, have my food, have everything that I need, do what I need to do magically and spiritually, and just be away from the general public because I don't like people. People are such disappointments. A lot of people are just disappointments. They're weirdos. They're crazy. And I don't mean crazy as far as having a legitimate, imbalance. I'm talking about being consciously crazy and consciously ignorant. And when you send somebody shit like this, I need your full stats complete. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. I'm doing a video. But anyway, that's all I have to say. I just think that that's crazy, and that's why I do not like BDSM. That's why I do not participate in it, um, especially if it's a detriment to me. Anyway, that's all I have to say.